So let's talk about the DSA. DSA stands for the Democratic Socialists of America. It's time. So yesterday, I came across a video of one of the co-chairs of the DSA doing an interview over on Fox News. And I was like, well, this is interesting. Why is she doing an interview over on Fox News? And so I listened to the interview, and I want y'all to listen to the interview. Let's get into it.
Voices pushing back on the growing influence of the Democratic Socialist candidates they say are ultimately going to hurt the Democrat Party. So let's talk about it with the national co-chair of the Democratic Socialists of America, Megan Romer. Megan, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Shannon.
Okay, so there's this growing conversation about whether you can exist within the party, whether you want to upend it for your own purposes, a totally different platform. The Daily Economy quotes you saying this at a DSA convention last year. We will win by making conditions so intolerable for the ruling class that they would rather give in to our demands than continue to live with the disturbance we cause until we are able to fully seize power ourselves.
And that makes so much sense to me. This explains why all of their little minions are running around on social media, down in my comment sections. Doesn't matter the platform. Why I see them in other people's comment sections. They have an army of trolls who run around on social media to harass and antagonize people like me, content creators like myself. I've seen them in other content creators' comment sections being antagonistic and being harassing, right? That is why you see people from the left like Rogue DNC and Keith Edwards. Now, I don't know if they consider themselves to be a part of the DSA. I don't know if they've come out and said that they were a part of the DSA, but all of their tactics are very similar. Right? And they are going after the establishment who like to talk identity politics. The establishment being Black voters. Those who like to talk identity politics, Black voters, because Black voters want to know what politicians are doing for Black people. Why? Because Black people are tired of getting the short end of the stick, right? And they love to throw up in my comment sections. We're past identity politics now. Oh, you must be a part of the establishment. This makes a whole lot of sense to me. Their goal is to become so unbearable, and they want to devour or destroy the Democratic Party as it currently is, and they want to rebuild it in their extreme image based on their policies. And they're going to talk about some of their policies.
Is that aimed at the Democrat Party?
Yes.
It's aimed from the working class to the ruling class. So,
okay. Working class. When they say working class, they aren't talking about Black people. Bernie Sanders uses that term a lot. He wasn't talking about Black people. When they say working class, they are saying white people, period. Now, the DSA, I've looked at the racial, I've seen some posts about the racial makeup of the DSA, predominantly white. So it all ties together, predominantly white. They have a few POCs sprinkled in there. They've got a few Black people sprinkled in there. But the DSA is predominantly a white organization, which explains why they don't want to talk identity politics, because they don't care about what Black people want or what Black people need. They don't want to talk. The establishment, yeah, that's Black people. And they don't want the establishment to have a say, period.
The two-party duopoly, the two corporate parties, it is aimed at both of them, and it comes from the working class.
So should Van Jones and Rahm Emanuel and James Carville and all of the establishment Democrats be worried about DSA plans from within their tent?
The establishment Democrats should be worried about the voters and about what the voters think and about what the constituency thinks. And right now they have not been delivering, and our candidates are and have been, and it's resonating with voters.
Who are the candidates that have been delivering? I wish she would have asked her that. Which candidates have been delivering for the American people? Because for the past 10 years, we've been dealing with Trumpism. So what have they been doing? Right? Were they out there speaking up when Joe Biden was trying to do some good things for the American people, and the Republicans were blocking everything that Joe Biden was trying to do? Student loan reform. Remember, they blocked that specifically. They tried to block the infrastructure bill. It didn't work. Right? There was some other things that Joe Biden was trying to do that would have heavily benefited the American people. Were they in attendance to try to stop the Republicans from interfering? No. What were they doing? They were out on social media talking shit about Kamala Harris. Right? Right? Talking shit about Kamala Harris, who was running for president. They were harassing, antagonizing anybody that was in support of Kamala Harris. That's what they were doing. And that's what they're doing now. They are out on social media tearing down and talking shit about the Democratic Party. They're not talking shit about the Republican Party at all. They are attacking and talking shit about the Democratic Party. So what have their candidates done for the American people?
So Jamie Harrison, who was the DNC chair, after you guys had such a big night in New York City and knocking off some of those incumbents and having success with your candidates in the congressional primaries, he said, if you hate the Democratic Party, then don't run for our nomination. Don't use our resources. Don't rely on our volunteers. Don't use our infrastructure. Focus on building the party you actually support. Other Democrats out there saying this is a separate party, the DSA. You don't belong within the party. How do you respond to his statements there?
Yeah, I mean, the two parties have, over years and decades, created a system where ballot line access is extremely difficult for third parties. I also have been told a lot of times by Democrats, don't vote third party, it's wasting your vote. So we run on the Democratic ballot line where it makes sense. We run independents sometimes where that is a viable possibility, but it's a ballot line. And what matters is what the voters think, and the voters are overwhelmingly choosing our candidates.
Overwhelmingly choosing their candidates. And she's right. If they're going to get anywhere, in the foreseeable future, the only way they're going to get there is by destroying the Democratic Party. They can build a totally separate party, but that takes time. That takes grassroots funding. That takes time building a totally separate party, and they don't want to do that. They don't have the resources to do it. They don't have a solid enough base to do it. So yeah, the only way that they can have one iota of having a chance to have a party in the immediate future is to take over another party. So what they plan to do is they plan to do to the Democratic Party what the MAGA did to the Republican Party. That's what they plan to do. Okay? And yeah, that period.
They certainly did in New York and in other places, Colorado.
What's bothering me is people are overwhelmingly voting for their candidates. Let's be for real. Okay? Let's be for real. They've had 6 DSA candidates to win their primaries, which means they won a spot on the ticket. So now they have to go up against the Republican, but the DSA candidate will probably win. Why? Because these 6 candidates, DSA candidates who won the primary, they are in blue states. 3 of them are in Colorado and 3 of them are in New York. Blue states. And they won in heavily blue areas. Are we clear? They've only won the primary. They'll probably win the seat come November because they're in a heavily blue area. Their districts are heavily blue. Come out of those areas, come out of the blue state. Okay, come out of the blue state and come out of the blue area and try to run as a DSA candidate. And then tell me how people are overwhelmingly going for your candidates.
Colorado and others, it's not just a big city phenomenon or just a blue coastal phenomenon. Okay, so we're going to put up on the screen a few of the things that are part of your platform. And I want to ask you, just give me sort of a true or false on these. Abolish the Senate.
True.
Okay, replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them.
Yep.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Defund the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Abolish prisons, at least in large part.
Yeah, again, that as part of a long-term program, yeah.
Okay, so no prisons. Government or public ownership of most large corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so then let's go back through some of those then. Abolish the Senate. There are people who are in the Senate now who are very supportive of DSA. They lose their seats?
Well, the Senate is an anachronistic institution. It comes from the British House of Lords. It is made to protect power for, the Senate was part of the system that was made to make sure that the people didn't have too much of a say. So we want to expand Congress significantly, but make it a unicameral legislature.
Okay, and without the presidency and Supreme Court. So abolish ICE. Would there be any enforcement of immigration laws, or with abolishing the border, we're not enforcing immigration laws, they go away?
Yeah, so again, this is part of this longer term plan, and part of it
but if you
includes,
can get there.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get to the place where the U.S. is not destabilizing countries in order to mine them for resources, there will be significantly less migration.
What do you say to those, though, that would potentially destabilize the U.S.? Because there's only so much the economy can bear, and when you have a flood of people coming in, it might not work out economically, according to a lot of analyses, if you just open up the borders and there's no enforcement at all.
Well, we're not saying open the borders tomorrow. We're saying rebuild an economy and a society that works for everyone. And the open borders is part of a longer-term international plan that involves us stopping destabilizing countries. Most people who are coming to this country are coming as economic refugees, and we destabilized their country. We did that.
Well, a lot of, if you look at data, the Center for Immigration Studies says right now the households here in the U.S. that are headed up by people who are here illegally, nearly 61% of them are on some type of government or welfare program here in the U.S. Can we afford to do that? I mean, at some point you run out of resources.
Well, right now we make it very difficult for people to participate in society in such a way that they can avoid using services. So we want people to be able to work and live and go to school and actually participate, which means contributing to society and also getting what they need from society. It's a collective choice we can all make.
So if we talk about abolishing prisons, then does that make society better? I mean, is there anybody that should be incarcerated? I mean, rapists, child predators, murderers?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the long-term plan, when we think about most people who are in prison, they are mostly in prison for crimes of poverty. But
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the really,
I hear you. So when we get rid of this need for crimes of poverty to exist, when we get rid of that destabilizing force that creates so many people who are living in desperate situations and doing desperate things, that brings those numbers down to very small numbers, and then we can collectively decide what we do with those people. I suspect it won't look like the prison system as we know it today. Okay,
but you do think some people need to be locked away from society?
Some people are not able to be functional members of society. That's true. But what does that look like to keep the rest of us safe? We're talking about safety. We're not talking about punishment. We're talking about making sure that we're safe, everybody maintains their dignity, and everybody maintains their humanity.
Okay, so much more to discuss. I hope that you will come back, especially as we figure out what the party does with respect to meeting the Democrat Party in your role in it, and in 2028 especially. Megan Farmer, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, that Fox News host accomplished exactly what it was that she wanted to accomplish. Why? Because she is not media trained. The Fox News host drove that conversation, put words in her mouth, and then didn't give her enough time to correct the words that were put in her mouth. Now, let me make this clear. I agree with some of the policy choices of the DSA. I agree. I don't agree with abolishing borders. We have to have some border protection. Number one. I don't agree with defunding the Pentagon. Nope. Does the Pentagon need to be stripped down to the bare bones and built back up? Absolutely. But we need a Pentagon. We do have enemies out there. We do have enemies. And the Pentagon helps to protect us from those enemies. So I don't agree with defunding the Pentagon. Abolishing prisons. So she didn't give me enough of an explanation as to what that would look like based on the DSA. When you abolish prisons, what are you going to do with the Charles Mansons? What are you going to do with those people? What are you going to do with the child predators? What are you going to do with them? Yeah. People who like to snuff out other people just because. What are you going to do with them? So abolishing prisons, I need a further detailed explanation on that, because I don't want to live in a society that has Charles Mansons running around. I don't want to live in a society that have Jeffrey Epstein's running around here free. We already got enough of that already. Right? Donald Trump is protecting a whole crew of those already. So, yeah, I agree with some of the things that they want to do. Abolishing the Senate, I could get with that if you're going to expand Congress in other areas. I could get with that. Yeah, the Senate and the House. Yeah, I could get with that. But no. But that Fox News host ran all over her. And she gave this air of arrogance and smugness until they got down into the policies, breaking down the policies, right? I believe that smugness and that arrogance is because she knows what they are talking about is driving, one, establishment Democrats crazy. That's number one. Number two, she knows that the midterms are coming. She knows that there are hundreds upon hundreds of Republicans out there that are not happy with Donald Trump and the Republicans and what they have done for the last 2 years. So many of these people are saying publicly that they will be voting for the Democrats. She don't want that. She don't want that at all. That is my opinion as to why she is here on Fox News. She wants Republicans. She knows their policies are extreme. She knows that Republicans would not agree with abolishing ICE, abolishing prisons, getting rid of the Pentagon, abolishing borders, right? She knows that will put them in a tizzy and have them thinking twice about voting for Democrats. Because remember, they want to destroy the Democratic Party so that they can rebuild it in their image. Yeah. The Voting Rights Act, currently what's standing in their way is us, Black people. Black people are progressives, right? But Black people believe in prison. We know everybody ain't right. You need a place to house those ain't right people. Black people are not looking to abolish prisons. Black people are looking for reform, right? Open borders. Black people don't agree with open borders, right? So a lot of the extreme policies of the DSA, Black people are not 100% going to get down with it. And Black people are currently standing in their way. So when the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act and they were silent on it, because they were happy about it. Diluting black voting power benefits them. Because currently, as it stands, black voters stand in their way. That's why they get down in our comment section talking about we're a part of the establishment, talking about no identity politics, right? That's just my opinion. But she's on Fox News, one, to antagonize and annoy establishment Democrats. Number two, she's on Fox News to turn off Republican voters who may be thinking about voting for Democrats. And number three, she's on Fox News hoping that it will lead into them being able to completely tear down the Democratic Party. That's why she's smug. That's why she's arrogant in sharing some of the most extreme policies of their platform. Yeah, they want to do to the Democratic Party what MAGA did to the Republican Party. Y'all let me know your thoughts on this interview with the co-chairperson of the Democratic Socialists of America. Do y'all think it's going to work? Time will tell.